In Chapter 9, Section 4, you are going to learn how to solve one more way, and it's called factoring. So if you wondered why we studied Chapter 8, you can tell that since we're going to factor here, Chapter 8 was probably pretty important. You can solve any quadratic equation where b is not 0 by using what we call the zero product property. Now before we get there, I want to talk about the different ways that you have found roots so far. The first method was by graphing. Okay? And how would you solve by graphing? You would get an XY chart, you'd graph them, and those values would be your roots. Okay? Or maybe you'd solve here, and you would say there's no solution here. There's no roots. Okay? That's how you solve by graphing. The second way you solved was by solving for x squared, then taking square root. The only reason this one worked out so well, though, was because there was no x term. So you had something like this: x squared minus 16 equaled 0. And then you did, that's x squared, you add 16, you got 16, you took the square root, and you said x equals plus and minus 4. Alright, that's great, but that's only great because there's no x term. Today you're going to learn to solve by factoring. Now, just as something to help you in the future, there are two more exciting ways to solve. They are by completing the square, which we'll talk about soon, and the quadratic formula, which we'll talk about after that, or maybe before that. But either way, there are two more ways to solve. Now let's talk about this zero product property. Pretend that you had, just ignore that box and listen to me. Pretend you had 3 times something and you wanted it to equal 0. What would that something have to be? 0. Okay, well what if you had something times 8 equals 0? What would this something have to be? 0. So as long as one of them are 0, the answer will be 0. Well, the other option is, what if both of them are 0? Would your answer be 0? Yes. That's pretty much what the zero product property says. As long as one or both of something is 0, then your answer will be 0. What does that imply? That will imply that, let's say you have two things, like x plus 1 and x plus 2 equals 0. Well, those are two things. If this one equaled 0, then our equation would equal 0. If this one equaled 0, then our equation would equal 0. So today what you're going to do is you're going to factor things down, and then you're going to say, well, if x plus 1 is 0, then my equation could be true. And if x plus 2 is 0, my equation could be true. On this one, you'll take away 1 and get x equals negative 1. And this one, you'll take away 2 and get x equals negative 2. So look, you're going to factor to help you solve for your roots. Now, we're going to start easy. Let's talk about problems that have already been factored for you. How nice. What are the solutions of this equation? Well, you would say you set the first one equal to 0, and it could be true. You set the second one equal to 0, and it could be true. On the first one, you just solve by taking away 1. For t equals negative 1, you divide and you get t equals negative 1/4. That's one of the roots. This one you add 2, and you get t equals 2, and that's the other root. That means there are two real roots, and there are two real roots, and they are 2 and negative 1/4. Let's try the got it. Alright, take a look. They're already factored for you, so you're going to set the first one equal to 0 and the second one equal to 0. You'll solve the first one by minus 1. You'll get x equals negative 1. You'll solve the second one, add 5, and you'll get x equals 5. Those are your two real roots. Try it again. You set the first one equal to 0. You set the second one equal to 0. On this one, you take away 3. That'll give you 2x equals negative 3. And then you got to divide by 2. X equals negative 3 over 2. And on this one, you need to add 4. X equals 4. On part C, you set the first one equal to 0. You set the second one equal to 0. You minus 1 on the first. You get 2y equals negative 1. You divide by 2. Y is negative 1/2. On this one, you take away 14. And y is negative 14. So your steps are set them equal to 0 and then solve. I'm not going to do the last one. Quick answers, if you're checking yourself, you should get 2 over 7 and 4 over 5. Time to factor yourself. Well, let's look at all of our equations. Now, something really important you should write down. I'll even change colors. Make sure you set them equal to 0. If you don't set them equal to 0, you're wrong. This is not multiple choice. I took the multiple choice away from you. Let's say you have x squared plus x plus 15. The question is really, what is x so it equals 0? Well, you can sit there and try 1. You could sit there and try 2 or negative 1 or all kinds of things. But if you want to make it easier, you just factor it like this, just like you did on your Chapter 8 test. Think of some factors of 15, like 5 and 3, that add to 8. That's x plus 5, x plus 3. Now set those each equal to 0 and solve. X is negative 5, x is negative 3. I'm not going to do this every time, but I want to prove to you that this works. Okay, let's make a little proof here. You ready? Our proof. There we go. Alright, you are going to do quantity negative 5 squared. And then you are going to add 8 times negative 5. Then add 15. Negative 5 squared is 25 minus 40 plus 15. Well, 25 minus 40 is negative 15. Plus 15 is 0. If you want to plug in negative 3, you can go ahead and prove that that is right as well. But it will be the same exact thing. You'll get 0 out. The got it. Well, guys, as long as you can factor, this is not going to be too hard for you, okay? First thing, double parentheses. Second thing, factors of negative 14, such as 7 and 2. You need a negative 5, so you better make your 7 negative. Set it equal to 0, each and every one. On this one, m equals negative 2 when you take away 2. On this one, m equals 7 when you add 7. Part B, double parenthesis. Factors of 20 that make a positive 1. I need the 5 to be positive, I need the 4 to be negative. P plus 5 equals 0. P minus 4 equals 0. Minus 5, P equals negative 5. Plus 4, P equals 4. Again, you could be checking all of these and plugging them in, but they are right. Alright, now part C, guys, this is where some of you do it differently than I do. I use guess and check. Some of you use the book way. The book way, as a reminder, you guys will be doing 2 times 18 is 36. Then you should think of factors of 36 that add to a negative 15. And then you're going to factor from there. Now, if you do not like the book way, or remember the book way, don't forget you may use guess and check. Factors of 2a squared are 2a and a. I'm going to take a guess with 18 at 9 and 2. Guess and check. Okay, so that's 2a, 2 and 9 is 18. I will not be able to get a 15 out of that. So how about instead of 2 and 9 for 18, I'm going to check 3 and 6. So 3a here, 12a on the outside. If they are both a negative, I am good to go. Okay, use guess and check or the book way, however you do it, get it right. Okay, set this one equal to 0. 2a minus 3 equals 0. A minus 6 equals 0. Add 3. 2a equals 3. A equals 3 over 2. Add 6. A equals 6. Next couple of things, you're going to make sure you put it into standard form first. Don't forget you need to set the equations equal to 0 if you want this to work. Problem 3, see how it's not set equal to 0? That's okay. Just move the 18 over. What happens when you move it over? It becomes a minus 18. Now if you want to do the book way, you're going to be doing 4 times negative 18, and then you'll be breaking that apart. If you don't want to do the book way, you don't have to. However, if you guys can't factor, you're in a lot of trouble. Alright, 4x squared, let's break it down. I'm going to try 4x and x. Now 18, you can try 6 and 3 or 9 and 2. Let's try 9 and 2 and see how we do. 9 times x is 9x. 4 times 2 is 8x. I am not going to get to 21 from that. Let me try 3 and 6 for 18 instead. 3 times x is 3x. 4 times 6 is 24. I need to get to a minus 21. So if I make this a minus 24, that'll work. If I make this a plus 3, that'll work. If you guys like the book way, make sure you get there at some point in time. Once you know how to factor, you set each one equal to 0. On the first one, I need you to take away 3. And then divide by 4. On the second one, I need you to add 6. Your two answers are negative 3 over 4 and a positive 6. Now let's make sure you're understanding what this means. This parabola, first of all, you should know that it opens up because the first number is positive. But this parabola is going to cross at negative 3/4 right there. And it's going to cross at 6 right there. So you should know your parabola is going to open up. It's going to take some U shape. And it's going to cross at those 2 points. Kind of an important fact to understand there. By the way, don't forget, let's go up here. Let's write this down. Always check for GCF. As much as we emphasize it, people always forget about it. Moving on to 3A. What are the solutions? Well, I need to take that 49 to the other side. Sometimes people ask, how do you know what side to take things to? Take things to the side that makes x squared positive. If you're smart, you will write that down. Take things to the side that makes x squared positive. This is going to be x plus 7 and x plus 7. I remembered my shortcut. That means that x equals a negative 7 because I set it equal to 0, okay? And I set it equal to 0 and then I took 7 away. Now what does that mean? Well, there's only one answer. Wonder what that graph would look like. Well, it would cross at negative 7. And how many times would it cross? Just the once. That means the vertex is right there. Okay, part B. Why do quadratics in the form, and this is that special form, if you remember back from chapter 8, special perfect square. Why do they only have one real solution? Because it only crosses right, or because when you solve, the answer happens, how about let's say the same answer happens twice. When you solve, the same answer happens twice. Just like it did in 3A. Alright, we'll finish this up on another video.